You're listening to Customer Spotlights, where we dive deep into the journeys of e-commerce founders who are making waves in the industry. Tune in as they share their experiences, strategies, and lessons learned, offering a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to succeed in the fast-paced world of e-commerce.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about who you are, your brand, kind of to let people give a little intro to people who might not know about you or your brand?
So my name is Lili Yeo. I am co-founder and CEO of Gomi. We make beautiful baby essentials that work. We've been in business for about 14 years and we're based in Portland, Oregon, in the United States.
What is baby's essentials that work? It's like baby clothing.
Sure. We started actually 14 years ago making baby mittens that actually keep babies from scratching themselves, that they actually stay on the baby's hands because the mittens that were out there in the market just were made poorly. And so they would fall off very easily from the baby's hands, defeating the purpose of the product. Socks didn't stay on either. So we made baby booties that look like footwear, but they're really socks because babies sleep 12 times a day. We also made pajamas that double as sleep sack because to make sure that baby's brown fat can actually engage in the early days. And so essentially we made the baby products that were already there actually functional. They actually do the job. They are beautiful, and they actually are sustainable to our planet so that our babies don't have problems to inherit unnecessarily.
And what was your background before starting the company?
Sure. I came from consumer marketing. So most of my time in apparel and footwear, working here in my local neighborhood company you might have heard of called Nike. And so I did all manner of various roles at Nike, from retail marketing, digital marketing, grassroots marketing, and all the way to brand and product development as well. So, and also spent some time in high tech and design. For my last stint actually was at Zeba Design, where we did a lot of early research to determine and solve problems through the eyes of designers and ethnographers. So it's been a lot on the product creation and marketing side that I came from. So it seemed natural to fuse and let that converge. It really happened for me when I had my first baby and I thought I was going to go back from maternity leave, back to design. And I was managing the China practice at the time, but I had this short window of maternity leave. And within the first couple of days, it was very clear that I was sort of not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. I was doing regression analysis on my baby's sleep patterns and found no correlationship. It drove me crazy. And then the pediatrician had to pretty much tell me, ma'am, we need to find other outlets for you, healthy outlets. So as often, I think the case when, our paths find us, that was the time when my friend from high school visited me in maternity leave and she saw my baby's mittens with these little rubber bands on them. And she's like, what's going on there? And I said, these are actually essential. Babies have poor motor control. It's, baby mittens on the checklist, but why do they keep falling off? They're poorly designed. And she said, I actually have a solution for that, as well as a few other products. I just don't know how to take it to market. And there's the proverbial, aha moment when I said, that's what I do for a living, right? And we started dreaming about, can we make products better? Because they should. We spend all this time researching, finding the right products for our babies with the intent to try to take, as best care as we can for them, not recognizing that we're creating all this waste that they're going to inherit with buying these binary products. And Gomi was born. That's how Gomi was born.
And just the question about the sustainability, it's interesting. Do you see a lot of your customers request that, or is that high on their list? And do you think that would be more for people who are thinking about perpetuity and the next generation than just selling a running shirt or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important question to ask. And we have mixed feelings, I think, in our world about sustainability, especially coming from Portland, where that's a lot of the air we breathe here. It varies is the short answer for the customer, that definition for them, and has so many factors that come into play with their relationship with sustainability. For some, it's a very much an economic decision. Can I afford to choose the sustainable solution? And two, are there good enough choices? Are there good choices to available in the marketplace for me to exercise my belief about sustainability? Are probably the two biggest driving factors. Early on in our journey, what I think, sorry, let me say one more thing. I think with respect to our human nature, there's two sides of us always at tension that we've experienced. Is that there's what we aspire versus actually what our behavior does, which they're not always in unison, right? So early on in our journey, when we posed this to the moms, and we spent a lot of time in the first year, prior to even launching the company, talking to moms, living with moms. We were those moms, and about sustainability and what they aspire is very true. It's very true that they want to choose the right sustainable solution, but there's other factors that might get in the way of that. Economic probably being chief of them. That they said they're going to buy the $28 baby mitten, because they want it not made in China, or they need it to be the highest materials. But you and I both know, I mean, the utility and the window of time that a baby mitten is needed is not for long. So will you really spend that kind of money? And it's the retailers that we spoke with that actually said, they say that, but actually what their pocketbook and what the purchasing behavior will look about half of that. So we designed our our business model around what the retailers in practice really told us. And that's what ended up working. It isn't that the consumers weren't telling the truth. I think we all want to live to our best selves. But our realities are not always there, but we still continue to strive for it. That is the human spirit. I think also there's limitations for, the realities of how long a product is needed. And in the space of baby particularly, there's this notion that, I only need it for this period of time. So while I might choose the best product, there's a finite window that I have to filter it through. What's the total use I'm going to get out of this product, total utility. So that's why you get something like hand-me-downs for babies, where that's as old as having babies themselves, where moms down select what really worked and they give the bag with all that they found the most useful to the next mom, and so on. So for us, sustainability is designing a product that will be good enough, for what they can truly afford, but really what it will be built to last, that will make it in that bag that they're going to pass on. That to us actually speaks the most volume about sustainability. Not necessarily was this thing made of the most new, innovative pulp of fiber that will then render the cost of the baby mitten to be $60 or something, where only a handful of moms can buy it. That's not true sustainability for us.
Where do you manufacture now? You manufacture locally, or?
No, we manufactured in China because that was the world's factory at the time, again, for all economics considered. But we did, and I came from a lot of experience of supply chain in China. And we hand selected where the highest likelihood of sustainable materials were going to come from, which is this northeast pocket of China, where a lot of sustainable materials and production are happening, and choosing the suppliers that really held those values for us. So it's not about hopping to suppliers. It's about finding the right suppliers, and for us having that long-term relationship with them to develop that continuous improvement of making better and better and better over time, jumping suppliers just wherever the tariff engine would blow, a tariff wind will blow, may not necessarily afford us the long-term continuous improvement that we think yields to the best sustainable practice of all.
And what are your plans regarding tariffs? Are you taking that into account?
Oh, gosh. So I think, it's interesting that, we find that ourselves in this moment again. It isn't the first time that tariffs have reared their ugly head for us. That for a baby company to be 14 years old, that means we've served 3 generations of moms already from X to millennials and now early Zs. So we've gone a few cycles, and so far we've found that the benefits of staying true to your supplier and what you guys have been able to build together still can, we believe we can still navigate this next round. Our partners are willing to work with us to meet this pricing challenge together. We've learned now where we can optimize for efficiencies and save on costs, how to be planful about our a mix of product, so we can do our best to do that. So we're betting on partnership.
And which sales channels do you sell on today?
We are omni-channel, so we have heaviest on D2C. And within that, say the Amazon, our own site. We're actually partners on Target Plus and a few other partners like Babylist, where a lot of baby products, where parents begin their journey a lot in that early process, selecting the right products for their babies. As well as we've started our, we've always been in select baby boutiques across the US and North America, where often moms still like to go and, discover at retail shops that they can have relationships with the retailers and tell them, hey, these products have been proven to really serve the test of time with parents. So that's been our channels, as well as we have a handful of international distributors around the world.
Main market you serve is the US.
Main market in the US, with a bit in, I guess, still English-speaking countries of Singapore, believe it or not, Canada, Australia, and a handful of hospitals that serve for our preemie audience.
Interesting. So you'd create baby mittens or whatever, socks for the hospital?
Part of our journey was they found our mittens. This one research hospital in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that said, hey, did you know, a top 3 issue in the NICU was babies who are born prematurely, they even have poor motor control. So, and what they tend to pull tubes that very much are designed to help them thrive and graduate, said NICU. When they pull those tubes off because of that poor motor control, that costs the hospital thousands of dollars. Not to mention it costs that baby seconds when they're not getting oxygen. So they had a task force to figure out, are there better ways to keep baby from pulling tubes off than taping things on their hands, taping the tubes on their hands. Because when they tape, any amount of that stress on the baby, that stress prohibits them from thriving. Not to mention cost, time for the staff to do that and replace it over and over. So they found our mittens. We designed the right size mittens. We tested many prototypes. And to this day, we are the #1 mitten for Penn State, Hershey Medical, to be able to have a non-invasive option. And our preemie mitts have proven to reduce that problem by 84%. So we're very proud of the hospital work we're doing. And our hope is to continue serving our premature babies across the nation, across the world.
Any kind of regulatory approvals for that if you're selling to hospitals?
No, because it's non-invasive.
Right.
So it's literally just yet another product that they put on their, to cover their hands. So nothing's being injected. There's nothing taken inside. So it's the praxis of the practitioners that rendered that they did the study. They published that journal article to prove that. So that was all that was needed to give it a try. So we're in 3 NICUs now in the country, 3 of the top 10 NICUs. So we hope that we can continue to serve those babies and staff to help them thrive and graduate out of that NICU in a healthy way.
Just interesting because I guess when you get, when you win over a customer, I guess for adult apparel, it's just a different kind of, you'd have this person, presumably, if they have a similar style for X amount of time. For you, I guess you're winning over, the mom in most cases. And then it's winning over her, presumably, for her various children. It's just a bit of a different model or way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a different model. And yes, you're right. The decision maker is largely mom. There's some handful of dads, but largely mom. And so you factor that into the calculus in terms of the values that she cares about, safety being one of them. Usually she sacrifices her own needs, right, for purchasing for baby. But aesthetic comes into play. So it has to have a certain aesthetic to reflect her, reflect what she values. But timelessness seems to win out over the end, versus trend. So you'll see that reflected in our palette. And I think what's interesting, we're starting to see a convergence between one of our values, right? It has to be beautiful with sustainability, that choosing the right aesthetic and a timeless aesthetic allows her to be sustainable, because then she can hand it down to the next generations, and it doesn't for the next baby or two. And, you could be gender agnostic with the color palette for that reason. So we're trying to achieve tick off as many of the boxes for her as we can with our product design.
And I like the direction also of trying to create a good value product that lasts for a long time. It's against what a lot of companies are doing today. I like that a lot.
Particularly with apparel, where we're a top 5 polluter. We take that extremely seriously. So we want to go on record that you really don't need that much baby stuff. The world doesn't need that much baby stuff, but you do need the right stuff, and stuff that are built to last, that can be hopefully for your whole family, and you buy it once and you do it right.
You want to tell me about a challenge or a time where it was more difficult for you in the business and how you kind of got around it?
I have enough time, Jacob, to cover. When you have such a small product offering in the beginning, it's the world, at least that we knew at the time, particularly in the States, they were very challenged. We were challenged by well, what's your product lineup? We'd love to bring you in store. And we're like, well, we had 12 SKUs. And they're like, that's it? Well, we need more. And that was one of the things that we were challenged with when coming in. It's like, that's all we had. That's all we were self-funded out of our 401ks, to do that first run. And yes, we had 12 SKUs, 12 colors, one size, one product. And they were really confused. They weren't willing to take a chance on us to be able to provide the right product. It is the right product, but you don't have enough of assortment for us to do the work of getting you in store. And so that was a core challenge. Being small was a disadvantage. And certainly, one of the things that we had to really overcome, that this is the right product. Yes, it's just one, but are you willing to at least provide the right product for your customer and do the work to actually get them the right solution? I think that has changed over time with, e-com for sure. And sometimes using the forces of push-pull marketing, where the customers are asking, do you have this product in your store? That was what got us into those stores early, and that I think it's a noble fight worth fighting, when you have these challenges where the world wasn't ready for small to be mighty. Down to, as you continue to expand, there was that temptation to grow bigger. And there were moments in our journey where we did try to expand to follow that. And we expanded beyond our britches. And then, that, comes with its own challenges when you overexpand and spend too many resources that you don't have. So we're learning that, I think it's kind of come back to our mantra, actually, that small really matters. And the world changes every day. The world is impacted every day by a whole lot of smalls working together to provide their unique value. And there's no shame in being small and impactful.
How many SKUs do you carry today?
We went from the starting 12. We've gotten as far as 3,300 SKUs, and we are back down to about 450. And we want to continue paring down to the most essential, actually. So it's almost like kind of coming round circle and being proud to be small again. So, but they are the right mix makes all the difference to running obviously efficiently and impactfully.
When you have a more manageable SKU count, you can actually optimize and grow your business accordingly.
Absolutely. Then that's across the whole value chain, whether it's your suppliers, whether it's your warehouse in terms of stocking and managing that cleanly, all the way down to the packaging that you elect to order. All of that has benefits by being that laser focused.
Right, definitely. And what does your financial toolbox look like?
Finaloop, of course. I can't tell you, Jacob, talk about the challenges of a small business. It is no small statement to say that we are very glad to have found you guys at this season of our business. We've gone through the gamut from our in-house bookkeeper when we were small to finding agencies to help manage us when we were larger and them still not quite figuring it correctly. And the tail was wagging the dog in terms of decision making, to having circled all the wagons back to being able to manage our financials as tightly as we can now with a tool like Finaloop. So yeah, it's literally connecting our Finaloop to our ecom engines and me managing and entering the rest of the information myself. And I love that I am using the tool with a handful of my Google Sheets that I hope I can graduate out of soon. Your team has no shortage of me sending my ideas like, can you make this spreadsheet next? Because I manage this on the cash flow basis weekly. But yeah, it's basically a few Google Sheets plus Finaloop is my long-winded answer.
Where do you see ecom going in the next couple of years?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Where do you see e-commerce going in the next couple of years?
It's going to be run by a very small and tight team of humans, augmented AI.
And do you think the online demand will stay similar, will grow? I mean, people are talking like in the 2020, 21 of it growing and then it kind of stayed flat. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you'll see. I think what e-com has shown us through the massive road bump, and really, I think, paradigm shifting COVID season has shown us the flexibility that e-com provides. And yet, even at the height of e-com where we grew tenfold as a business, we never, ever, ever lost sight of our B2B because I understood this core principle, even back in my design days, that for every trend, there's always a counter trend. They always coexist. And so as we move into hyper digitization even more with personalized storefronts for every single customer that shows up in our store, and AI will absolutely be able to do that in light speed, that same consumer will desire very analog experiences. We just can't help ourselves. We're very social creatures. So you will see both coexist, down to the most tactile experiences that are going to be craved to augment that personal storefront. They want to be able to actually curate how the packaging looks like or gift, so both will coexist in our world. The expression might be slightly different, but no question, the demand for both will coexist. I think it's just a matter of what parameter or what part of the service each channel will optimize in. Maybe you'll get like your most immediate, really tailored offering, and ideally predictive is what e-com will do for us going forward. It'll start to really predict that for the consumer in a much more tailored way, and the consumers will just get used to it, and then they'll probably want to down select the last few that they really will pick based on sights and smells and sensorial at the retail, where the discovery is found digitally. At least I can see that as a very clear pathway. Or vice versa, the discovery is happening there. And, out of convenience, they're going to then deploy their gift across the country to their friends that don't live in their time zone. So I think we're likely going to see both scenarios. So for the nimble among us, I suspect that cultivate that blend, and only your customers will be able to tell you that behavior. And I think the beauty of AI is that it's telling us in a much more summarized way now of all of the, the 2 or 3 most salient pathways that our consumer behavior is demonstrating.
Just one last question, kind of coming to wrap. If someone was looking, first off, people want to learn more about your company, how do they find out? And what would you recommend if someone had to gift, let's say, a 6-month-old baby who doesn't sleep? What would you...
Thank you, Jacob. They can find us at Goumikids.com. And for sure, I would recommend our baby gowns, mitts and booties. That is like the quintessential first set coming home. But at the 6-month level, they're going to start to crawl and start to toddle in some cases for the more advanced of us, babies who've already hit 90 percentile or above in height. They're going to start to motor. So we have our footed Grow With You footies, which are our footed pajamas that have built-in knee, moto knee, so they and also convertible open toe feet, so that they can start to toddle and flip to their feet, and that they can feel the tactile feet moving around. Or if they do crawl a lot during that time, then your knees are still protected as you crawl when you're moving from your back to your knees. So we really try to design those essentials so that it's just a natural progression, and we're growing with you, and you don't even have to think about it. So you can focus on other things.
Thank you so much for your time. It was
Thank
really
you.
interesting.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. What a pleasure.